After inserting images into a web page, you may need to perform some basic editing on those images to achieve the desired look of the page. Dreamweaver provides some powerful tools for editing images. Let's see how this is done. I'm beginning this video with the edit_images.html file already open on my computer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down a little bit to these 3 div tags that we have separated here for flavors, vegetarian, and takeout. And what I'd like to do is insert a couple of images into some of these boxes to add a little bit of visual interest to the page. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click my cursor right in front of the word J in Jummy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to my insert bar and make sure you're in the Common tab. And if you look at the 7th button over, you should see an icon of an image as you see here. Now, if you see a little bit different of an icon, simply click on the arrow to the right and choose Image from the list. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate in my Chapter 5 Site folder into the Images folder, and I'm going to select this file called tomato.jpg. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Open button, and in the alternate text field, we can just enter something basic such as tomato and mozzarella, and we'll go ahead and click OK. And as you can see here, it inserts the image at the location of my cursor. Now, the nice thing about Dreamweaver, you'll notice this image is currently selected. And if you want to see how that's done, just click off of it, within the text, and then click on the image to highlight it. You can scale an image very easily by clicking on the handles down here. So if I click on this bottom right-hand corner, I can click and drag. Now, if I just click and drag randomly, what's going to happen is it's going to stretch the image. That's really not what I want to do. What you can do to get back to where you were is come down here to your property inspector and click on this middle button to reset it to the original size. But if you hold down the Shift key and click on the bottom right corner, that will scale the image proportionately. So I'll go ahead and come down here. We will reset it back to the original size. The other thing we can do is we can scale the image in the Properties panel. So what I'm going to do is click on this button to link the width and height fields together. And if I change the width to, say, 120, and I press Return, you'll see that it now resizes the image proportionally because I have this button checked. And something to point out is that the way this is currently being resized is if you go to the code view, you can see that we have an attribute value defined within that image for the width and height of the image. Now I'm going to go back to design view, because down here I want to point out that when you resize this image, you are basically scaling it dynamically when you load the page in your web browser. But the thing to remember is that the original image, and whatever size the original image is still intact. So for example, if you place a very large image in your web page and you scale it down very small, although it's small on the web page, your browser still needs to load the full size of that image. So it's always better to size it proportionately within your image editing program before you insert it into Dreamweaver. Now, I know that's not always possible, so we're going to take a look at some of the tools that we have available inside of Dreamweaver to do this. One of the things I'm going to point out here is that in addition to the toggle size constraint and reset to original size buttons, we also have this third button, which is commit image size. Now, if I click on this button, you're going to get a warning dialog box that says the action you're about to perform will permanently alter the selected image. So I want to point out that right now, down in my Assets panel, the tomato image is 100 by 66 pixels. Now I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And you're going to notice that this no longer has the Reset to Original Size button, and it no longer has the Commit button, because what Dreamweaver has done is it has physically resized the original image to make it bigger. Now, you'll notice down here in my Assets panel, this is currently still indicating that it's 100 by 66 pixels. However, that's because the data has not been refreshed. You can click this little refresh button down here, and if I scroll back down, you can see it's still indicating that, and sometimes Dreamweaver lags, but you saw it just switched over here. So you can see that the image itself has been resized. So you want to be careful with that. It can be powerful, but you do want to be a little bit careful because you don't want to keep sizing and resizing this image because you'll start to lose the quality of the image as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this image over here. We're going to come down here. I'm going to change this back to 100. And I'm going to click this commit button. And that is, again, going to resize the image back to the original size. I do want to stress, however, that I have thrown away some of the data in this image. So it's always better to size it proportionately within an image editing program. If I come down here and I refresh the list, you should be able to see that if we refresh it, we'll have to do it one more time. You can see that the image size has been updated. Now, fortunately, Dreamweaver has some additional controls. For example, with this image selected, I can come down here to my Properties panel, and this button will allow me to edit this image directly inside of Photoshop, provided you have it. So if I click this button, you'll see that it opens this image directly inside of Photoshop. And I can make any changes to this if I want to. I can add some text and make any modifications to it. And when I save this, it'll then automatically update in Dreamweaver. Now I really don't want to make any additional changes to this, so I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we'll return back to the Dreamweaver application. And in addition, you'll take notice too, you can also crop an image if need be. This is pretty powerful in the event that you have a larger image and you want to crop part of it out. And you can also adjust the brightness as well as the sharpening of the image as well. As you've seen, Dreamweaver provides the tools for making basic image edits to the images that you've placed on a page. And if you need to go a bit further, Dreamweaver also makes it quite easy to edit those images directly inside of Photoshop as well.